do this. I have been notice of this meeting being held this 15th day of February 2024 at 6 p.m. as been provided in accordance with Section 3D of Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Sunshine Law. I will do it twice tonight, but we'll rise to the pledge. Public meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a roll call for this.
Mr. Keefe is not here. Kenny?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
Nelson? Here. Muir?
Here. Hi, Carl. It's good to see, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see Carl.
Yeah, I'm back.
Pretty?
It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Sure.
haven't seen you, Carl. Happy New Year.
Thanks, you too.
Looking for him on Tuesday. Yeah, it's that.
So tonight, this starts our first of our two, hopefully just two budget meetings, but let's see what we discuss and go through. There's no public in the room or on Zoom yet, but just, still want to share that this process, starts at the end of the previous year. We all take this very seriously. We'll spend a lot of time to try to figure out how best to conserve funds throughout this process. I will add, I was thinking about this, I think about our township a lot as we come into budget season and the different things that we spend money on. And so our DPW is something that we take great pride in. So, Carl, I know you're on there. We want to provide as much support as we can to our DPW. And then our fire and rescue companies are also entities that we want to support as best as we can. And then the challenge is we're asked to do that with other people's money. And we've been voted to represent those who have contributed their tax dollars, and it's our responsibility to do what is most responsible with those dollars. So that's what this process is about as we go through and try to find the best ways to approach all the needs that the township has, the services we need to deliver, and do it as efficiently as possible in the face of many state mandates and in rising costs such as insurance, especially health insurance. So the budget that you have in front of you currently represents a 1.52% increase. Provides largely for many of the asks, I would say, from the different departments. There are a few things that have been taken out. We'll have some discussions about that tonight. It includes currently a debt repayment of $120,000. We have right now $435,329 left in debt. And this year we're paying down $120,000. We may discuss that as well. And so, sure, $435,329. And this right now, this budget as presented is paying down $120,000 of that. We'll discuss whether we pay some more. My goal would be to be debt free by 2026, regardless the way the notes are stacked. They all need to be paid by 2027 anyway. Just also as a kind of a point of information, each year we regenerate our revenue, which we will probably keep referring to in this meeting as surplus, but it is additional revenue at $600,000 annually. It's an approximate amount. This current budget is using about $440,000. So again, we can talk about the ability to use more surplus if we would like, or let that continue to go into the anticipated surplus. For me, and we can, like I said, we'll go through Jen. I usually turn it over to lead us through this, but my discussion points are going to be our DPW budget, the debt repayment, and contributions to fire and rescue. And then we'll just, I'm going to say, take some notes and update about requirements for health insurance, stormwater, and affordable housing compliance.
As Paul said, our, increase right now as it stands is, 1.52%, with using $440,000 in surplus. I tried to get as best as I could with everyone's requests for their budget. I know there'll be some DPW, questions with that. They, do you want to go through it like line by line first, before we're not going all over the place?
Yeah.
And then when we get there, that way it'll be easier. The revenues are pretty straightforward. With what we anticipate, sheet 5 is our, energy receipt taxes and sort of state trust. Excuse me, that pretty much stays the same every year. We did get an increase in the municipal relief fund.
Do you anticipate that to be what we're gonna receive this year? In 2024? Next year, then we go down. I just want to be sure.
Okay, but yeah. But that is what we're anticipating for this year. Sheet 7 is our shared services with the courts. As you can see, Bloomsbury and Glen Gardner have remained flat. Lebanon Borough for the contract, they go up 1,500. Plus our discretion is 3% additional with that, which I included.
Is that 3% for the 1,500?
Yes,
3%.
before the 1,500.
So the 1,500 is contraction. Increase. 3%.
Correct.
With the base amount, add 3%, and then add the 1,500.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, I'm just trying to let myself
Yeah.
go through this,
Okay.
getting more.
Then the next change is, sheet 9 for the grants that we'll be receiving. So that includes the River Road grant and the economic development grant from the county for the 13,500.
Since we're on grants, it doesn't have to do with this budget, but since we're in a public meeting, maybe somebody will watch this after. We do try to be as cautious as we can and make improvements and things as we can, through grants. So this year, I know that would then come into the budget and, was it its title 15.9 if we received?
159, chapter
Chapter
159.
But we will be applying for an additional DOT grant as we do every year for projects. We have those lined up with guidance from our DPW and roads commissioner. We do anticipate applying to the historic trust for the Stone Bridge project, and we are applying for another DCA recreation improvement grant for accessible equipment for the park, as well as extending the water bid line.
Was there any more grants available this year for the tier A, B to A?
There's not, that's part of my discussion, and I'm gonna ask Tom, he's not here, you know, I'll have him in our regular meeting after this, talk a little bit. My concern, again, I didn't put this, I should put this in preface, my concern is that this year is kind of, I would say, a lull in the stormwater. We put together 10 ordinances last year, I think there are 4 that we have to do this year. We put the drain covers on, we have more to go. And then there's some of the administrative costs, such as recording the excess salt and different things that we do. But there's not a lot of asks this year, it's a lot more preparation for 2025, which we keep talking about purchasing a street sweeper. Those bigger items are coming down the road next year, so that's, you know, we don't do these budgets in a vacuum, we need to be prepared for next year, so while I don't think there's gonna be a large expense for stormwater this year, there will be for the following 2 years.
Do you know if there's any grants that are available for like equipment or anything for DPW or?
Not, I mean, there could be, I can't say that I'm exhausted, no, the only thing I can say is, the other thing for stormwater A and B that we haven't applied for, when Thomas mentioned, there's a non-competitive grant through Highlands. So we'll be applying for that, so that will be coming in this year.
Okay,
I don't know what the amount is, offhand again, but I think it's in the $40,000 range.
okay,
Which is, you know, something that maybe we can, I know we can definitely use it, but again, I'm more worried about what's coming down the road.
Same question I was gonna ask, but I really didn't understand your answer. Is there gonna be one, you've got to research and see if you can find a grant for equipment?
Yeah, I don't know, a grant offhand for DPW equipment.
Okay,
It's possible, my assumption with equipment, like either grants for the stormwater management.
right,
My question for the grant for equipment for DPW is, equipment grants are difficult for government entities, and then even if we saw the fire companies when they came in here, they'll get, you know, scout packs and different things like that, but actually getting a grant for, you know, their trucks are more than ours, but $100,000 truck is far and few between very rare for emergency agencies, never mind DPW. So DPW, as important as they are, I'd say is kind of considered that grant world tangential to emergency services. So my assumption is, there are not a lot of options, but I can't say that there's not something out there. I'm happy to spend some time and
yeah,
talk
you can
about.
research it, that would
Yeah, I think we can talk
make
to
everybody kind of real happy, because,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, I'll get into it later, but yeah, if you can do some research. Thank you.
Yeah, we do plan to apply to the county, it's not for equipment, but for an infrastructure grant. Hopefully for clearing trees along roadways that ash trees.
and then the next, sheet that there's, activity on the 11, and that's just the total again. And that tells you if you look at, number 6A, the 2,316,476.61 is what the local municipal tax would be, so you can see it went up from the 2,278,000 last year. If
That's with the increase in taxes.
yeah.
I'm just like curiosity, is this, whether this one is set, reading that, or that go down, or is that just something?
So F is,
It shows a bad year, I guess we anticipated 330, they were anticipating 205.
that is, so that's our grants.
Okay.
So that's just what we budgeted last year was the 338, and this year, so far, we only have the 205. If we do more grants in, we do the chapter 159s, and then those will end up in there. But for right now, that's,
Well, we're anticipating we have.
right, that's all that I know so far. I know Tom's applying for the recreation grant, I don't know if we would end up getting that. Or know anything, I don't think we'll know anything about that before we introduce, I
No.
don't think that's till May or something.
The other thing is, I got for Fleet Farmhouse, which I leave out, we'll let it go through. I still have 75,000 of the 25, which was realized last year. Tom is supposed to, and I haven't pushed him on it, Tom is supposed to research whether that can be transferred to something else. So it could go towards the bridge. My guess is that would probably be the likely place to put it, historical to historical, but,
It's good to know that's there too.
Yeah, because with that, I only have the 25,000 that we budgeted, we have something that says we have 75,000.
yeah, but it was in 3 phases that we would be supporting. The first phase was the, which we've only used, I think, 5 or 6,000 of,
Okay.
was for the planning. And then there was engineering, which came next,
Okay,
drawings and things like that.
okay,
So that was, so it was, yeah, it was in 3 phases. So that was only phase 1.
okay. So were there any questions on the revenue portion of the budget? Okay. Then the appropriation, sheet 12 starts our all of our salary and wages and expenses. I don't want to go through, line by line. I don't know if you just want to go page, if anyone has any questions.
These are pretty consistent with last year.
Yes. The one increase was, under revenue administration on sheet 13, that went up $9,500 for, a possible conversion from MFI to Edmunds for the tax system.
And there was a $2,000 increase in technology, but we had a discussion about the additional meeting.
Well, technically, if you go over to the total for 2023, it was 16,300, and so we had to transfer it in. We bought the computer, for zoning last year, out of that line, so.
We were having some discussions about ADA compliance for both the phone and the website.
Yes.
So is that,
We sent out some communication today
okay,
regarding what we might have to do for that.
So
What's
that,
the other? What was the 2,000 increase on audit services and other expenses,
just their fees going up.
just their fees?
So back to technology, should we increase that or?
what's your thoughts? You think those 16,000 that was last year?
Well, I don't think we should increase it.
Okay.
I think we need to manage to it,
Yeah,
which we have.
because his fees are like maybe $7,000 on jump ball.
Okay.
And then. but,
It was,
Yeah,
and it's interesting, so I have a question, so computers, the actual hardware is not considered a capital expense, why would that come out of technology?
so it can come out of capital, but then we need to do an ordinance.
Okay, would that be a better way to go,
So,
or doesn't it matter?
I mean, if we do an ordinance, we're waiting the 30 days to introduce and then adopt, so, I mean, we can do that, it just depends on how. How we want to do it. And it has to have a 5-year life.
Oh, well, it would have, the computers nowadays have.
Here,
No, I'm okay with leaving it there, I was just wondering. Yeah, I think about it, it's actually an asset, it's not a soft cost, but
If the, like for zoning, if their line item for other expenses had funding in it, I would, I would put that in.
yeah, so I guess the reason why I'm just asking, because last year we found money in an ordinance for the floor.
Correct. Right, so there was an old ordinance that,
So if we were to put, say, $4,000 into an ordinance, then it would carry year over year. That way, if we had an emergency need, because we're now having problems with Laura's
so we do have,
courts.
not to jump ahead, but we do have the contingent fund, which we budget $5,000 for every year.
Okay,
And that's for an unforeseen expense, and last year we did, off the top of my head, I don't know what we charged to it right now, but we did charge, I can find it in here. We did charge over $4,000 to that line. And I have to go back and see what was it we,
Okay.
maybe it was, I don't remember, I'm sorry.
just something, just something to mull over. I mean, it's a nominal amount. It's not like it's tens of thousands of dollars, but
Right.
to discuss, but I'm just thinking, it just seemed that over the last 2 years, and maybe it was just my dumb luck, our equipment seems to be aging all at once.
Well,
You
yeah.
know, we had the animal licensing computer die. We
The
had,
one year we did buy like 4 or 5 at once.
Yeah.
So now they're probably all.
yeah, I don't know the age of Chris's, yours, Jen, you said you should be okay.
19, I think, my laptop. I mean, it's okay right now.
We could do an ordinance for technology upgrades.
So how does that save us from the budget by having an ordinance or having?
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up. An ordinance, I believe, like I said, is capital, it's a capital expense, which means it carries over. So if we don't use it this year, it doesn't really ding us next year if, say, I don't want to say it, Jen's laptop would die.
And the capital limits outside of the operating. budget.
Yeah, it's out of the operating budget, so. I don't know. I don't want to belabor the point,
But
but
out of this technology expense, what would be the asset portion of it, or is this all services? That's my only question. So if we did a capital for $4,000, would this then be $9,000?
correct, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, John called just for his call,
It was 7.
is like 7,000. And then we have Lou's fees for his, Zoom monitoring, and what Lou does. So that's, over to,
You guys want to do something with the video in the courtroom for this year?
Yes, we do, that's the other thing, there might be purchase of TVs, sound equipment that we might need, that Lou and I are gonna sit down at some point and go and formulate a plan, but I don't think it's gonna be in time for this budget,
All right,
right?
sounds good.
Yep.
I love home theaters, so include me.
You know, if we need sound bars or whatever we might need, I don't know.
At least you have a working router now.
Yay!
I might have,
I may have a TV.
like I say, I think and I might have the ability to have somebody donate, slightly used equipment. So if we need TV monitors, purchasing. So do you wanna reduce this to 10,000 and then do it? The technology budget for, I'll just go to 4 if you're gonna try to do some other upgrades here.
Yeah,
so reduce technology to 10, and then we'll do a technology ordinance.
Yes.
And honestly, I don't think that's any, I don't know, I could be wrong, there's no public here tonight, but, you know, they
But those
also,
who-
they want the upgrades.
I think those who attend meetings would be, appreciated. We've had discussions about moving back in the days, that way we can adjust where the owl is. how that-
Right, it's just gonna depend on what John calls, you know, what extra, I mean, we're only in February, so depending on what extra work we need him to do. We need to get the work that he's, that, you know, Justin's already done and whatnot on Laura's computers.
One
Yeah.
more thing just to throw out is that there's been a request, at least 2 requests to me, and one of them was at the a meeting, I think the last township committee meeting, I believe it was to provide for a public Wi-Fi access in the courtroom area.
That was at planning board, I think.
Yeah, and
That
then
was planning board,
Yes,
yeah, Monday night.
that's an easy thing for us to do if we want to do it. I can take care of that for like under $100 if you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, so reduce that to 10, we'll do a capital ordinance
Yeah.
for equipment, for technology. 14.
So sheet 14, the one change, and that is zoning. The zoning officer has requested, some clerical help. To get his files, organized, his email organized.
We're gonna try to, work with an existing, hopefully an existing employee and just add hours.
Yeah.
Your OEM can help out after hours. I don't have an objection, I prefer, I was looking for an Apple pen, but I don't have an objection, I think there is probably some backlog in that office.
Yeah, I mean. It wouldn't be a forever, you know, get him hopefully. In a place where then he can just take on the work, you know, keeping it organized.
Page 15. Just, I'm gonna bring up our first question. Create some controversy, so actually two questions, so one, back in 2000, I think it was, 16 or 18. I don't think, you know, we added, $5,000 to every agency, which then skewed the contract that the fire companies at least had. Mr. Kenny's brought this up, and I think it's a valid point. The fire chiefs had chosen their percentages based on their response. They seem to still be supporting that current contract, and these numbers no longer reflect that contract. I don't think we're in a position or should reduce any of the fire companies. So your starting point would be, you know, Franklin and Glen Gardner, 34,000, and then, you know, the other companies then would have to be going up like.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do have a question. Since they all just signed a contract that's through this year on a dollar amount, does that negate
It could,
the percentage?
so that was gonna be my, like, two avenues to go.
Okay, sorry.
So, but it's been brought up, so I didn't want to ignore it. So
We're not, we're talking about contracts, in public,
okay,
but talking about the budget, we should do that in public.
well, I think we've stated before how the chiefs have organized that. But, so the budget has the potential, my real question is, this is what I struggle with. Our fire companies and rescue squads came in here. We know they're struggling with both volunteerism and dollars. So do do we think, and is there maybe even a way to gauge that residents would be accepting of a tax increase due to adding additional support? And maybe this is for next year, maybe it's for this year. But there's no way to do this without a tax increase.
What increase in
I was gonna say, above what we had,
Whatever we have now.
what was.
First, I think we need to figure out. You know, the contract with the chiefs goes back to what the total budget is and they get a percentage. If we add this up, we know what our total budget is.
Yeah.
Then all we need to do is readjust it by, we have to add it, if we add it, because we don't want to give anybody less money. In fact, if we had the money, I'd give them more money. But what we should do is adjust our total budget and reflect that it then comports with the agreement that was made years ago.
We would do that, and with the caveat that nobody would go down.
Correct, and so it would only go up.
Yeah.
Some may stay the same, but it would go up.
So-
Based on the total.
Good question, I mean, so I think last meeting we discussed that shared money is only amongst the fire departments, right? It's not amongst the first aid squad.
As I recall.
Yeah, so. Was there a discussion, how?
I would, if we raise for fire, I think we would have to raise
Yeah.
for EMS as well.
Right.
So, you know, we have,
Don't mix apples and oranges.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm just asking for, you know.
just what the implication is, yes, it's an increase for both types of agencies.
One of the things that is concerning with these budgets is an issue that rises. There is a life cycle for their major equipment, their trucks, which are the most expensive items they have. And some of their trucks, as I understand, are getting old, and they don't have a capital fund for replacement of those trucks. So going forward, it's quite honest, there's got to be a mechanism by which we contribute money and one with the other towns that are supported by the beverage, so that they have a capital fund. So when a truck expires in 25 or 30 years, we're not borrowing money to replace a truck, the money's already there. That it's a small raise now to save money, but when because each company, the fear is, you've got 5 companies that are all going to truck at the same time. And that's been, it was an issue 15 years ago, we had it, but nothing changed. So that is something, I mean, there's a mechanism for doing it in other things in the municipal budget, not like a sewer budget. You're supposed to get surplus, you're supposed to put money away so that you don't have to bond it when you have a major improvement or a major disaster. We don't have a mechanism for that, but there needs to be a discussion about the life cycle of major equipment and how much money each of the towns should put away so that we're not bonding for it. And if you're bonding at 2%, that's great. Right now, that would be there.
I asked years ago, all the fire companies to create their own capital funds.
Right.
And I told them that would make it, instead of public, it would make it easier for us and other municipalities to contribute. If you come to us and say, you know, we had our own capital fund, we already have $200,000 in it. And we request X from each of the municipalities. I believe one of the companies, I don't remember which one it was, did say it had a capital fund. I'm sure it is far short with, you know, $1 million fire truck at this point. That's where they stand.
And that's only one.
Yes. So I'm putting it out here, just the thought is, you know, how can we better help them? And so whether it's, and so I was looking to, I don't want to raise taxes, but for a 1.52% increase the past few years, we've been about 2%. So is there a small percentage that we can set aside? Do we add it to their contribution, or do we have a discussion with them? Do we do a match program, maybe to incentivize the capital program? I think they have a lot of challenges that may preclude them from being able to do that, but I do kind of like the match, so you set up a capital fund. And when they come do their annual percentages, presentations, and they can share that they've contributed X amount, and we can use that as some sort of barometer and set up a formula for what we contribute each year. And it wouldn't be, you know, theoretically for trucks, but some of it could be for, just got a pack or something that.
I mean, what's our number one duty as elected officials? And that's the safety of our residents. And that's really what we're tasked with.
I said protect and preserve home values. Well, it is, and then, but if you're fired, if you don't have,
Well, I was just, yeah, yeah.
and if you don't have a rescue spot and provide services, people don't want to live in town, their home value is not.
Yeah, you know, the advantage of rescue squads have for at least the auto accidents, they get a small reimbursement. But they have a source of income. Which bothers me. That's something.
Okay, the fire companies can't get reimbursement for some corrections and stuff.
Wow. For cost damage, that's an issue that to me is not clear. I think they could, but most people say they can't.
You need a,
Or you're extracted, if you're doing extraction, I think you can.
well, the town has to establish ordinance to allow for the fire company to bill, and that's a soft billing.
Right.
And I've talked to some of the fire companies about this. There used to be a company that actually did a presentation years ago. And Mr. Kenny was the attorney and Mr. Keefe was here. We were the only three that were here. And they kind of did the billing for the fire companies and tried to collect. You know, oftentimes I get from the fire company that they don't, you know, always have the information because of the type of scene that it is on the highway. 78 it's a transient highway. Oftentimes people don't have insurance. So there's a variety, but I mean, yes, they can bill for certain things.
What about,
It's not as accessible to them as the rest of the.
I'm just saying, especially with sending the tractor trailers and everything, all commercial. Yeah, some sort of, as you're saying, holdings, whatever else, and then they can go out to these commercial.
The difference is the insurance, the auto insurance will pay for damage.
Right.
But your auto insurance generally doesn't have a provision for payment for somebody to arrive and block traffic. Make it safe, but I'm not meaning.
But even on the commercial,
But there's no insurance to cover. So there's no way to collect it from
the commercial vehicle side either, say the 18-wheeler.
Right, because their insurance company. And that's the problem, you know, house fires, that,
Right.
you know, your contents and your structure, which are company response, but the response is often not, or generally. So there's not a way to get revenue from that, so most of the time, our budget really, I call it, my shorthand is, our budget covers operating. But it's really not covering, right, what becomes every once in a while a huge cost to all municipalities. That's why, in my opinion, we'll get to talk to all municipalities that are serviced by these companies to come to an agreement to say, we should look at this and try to figure out a way, especially going forward with new equipment. We're gonna buy a new truck. We know it's gonna have, and I'm making it, I don't know the answer to this, but let's say it has a 25-year cycle, life of life, it's like 22 years, everything has a life cycle. We know we're gonna have it in 25 years. The operating costs are covered in our normal budget, but our replacement costs are put away over 20 years, how much do we anticipate the replacement vehicle be, so that we put enough money away, so that the time when it comes with the trading value for whatever it is, that we have enough without having to bond, without having to take out a loan, no debt service. Which is, if you know, we looked at all these trucks, and we looked at the ones that are old and might not have them on a longer cycle, we might end up with 3 companies coming to us at one time, they come down saying, hey, we need you to give 50% for a brand new truck. Well, I don't know how we do that.
So we've also had, so this is what I'm hearing, and so for tonight, I said, not that I'm giving up on providing additional,
No,
yeah, so I think we should leave these numbers because they're operational the way they are. We have contracts from all the fire companies for the coming year. So I said we leave these for now. And I think we should work towards during the year, something that's definitely actionable for 2025, if not sooner. But talk about creating some sort of capital fund, and I did have, with surrounding municipalities, it brings up a surrounding municipality reach out and talk about a contribution for a paid firefighter, so that there would be, you know, one assigned to each town that would be paid. And then you would have a 3, say, that were on call, that were paid firefighters, but each town would contribute. And they would rotate through, similar to the county plan, but on a smaller microcosm for those local towns here. That I'm not fleshing out tonight, that I haven't, you know, entertained, but I think, I think, I'm gonna say bluntly, I think our volunteer services are in crisis. Those who are there are doing the best they can, and it's not taking away from them, but I think, the volunteerism, and is in crisis. And, when Judy mentions what's our number one responsibility, I am deeply worried about the future of emergency services for Bethel Township.
Mike.
Yeah,
I have to imagine that we're not the only municipality that is thinking about this. And I would also have to imagine, that's why I went to the conference with mayor guy, there has to be other municipalities that have thought about how to do this and have a plan for how to do it, that we could, I call it legal research, the rest of the world calls it plagiarize, that we could borrow from to see if, at least we have a guide for what they're trying to do and try to make, and see if there's a way we can adapt it to our specific circumstance.
I'm gonna say kind of like the DBW grant, I wish there were something that we could, there's a lot of conversations.
Right.
There's no, viable, this one I'm a little more confident, there's right now no viable model. And not just through the conference of mayors, but the League of Municipalities, which does open up to pay fire and police to be present, had one of their conference sessions, the breakout sessions about this, and it was standing room only. You could not, speaking of fire, the fire marshal had to come and start taking people out because so many people are looking for these solutions. So I think there's a lot of conversations and things we can garner from other, but nobody's created a model that's been successful yet. And, well, we don't like to be the first. We may need to be creative here.
As long as it works well.
Yeah, and I do say, I think we're in a fortunate situation, at least right now, I think at least Union and Alexandria, which cover our towns, and I would, haven't had a conversation, but I would conjecture Bloomsbury, would be interested in looking at some sort of total solution as four municipalities, and trying to work together on this.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's it.
So we'll leave this here
Well,
and open up.
but, I mean, so what we're talking about, our budget for this year is what it is.
I think that's
But we do have to work on next year's budget to get it in line with what the agreement is.
As well as-
Of course, by giving everybody a raise, or giving most of them a raise, if not all. And figure out how we're gonna do that and how much it costs.
as well as looking at other capital costs.
Right, well,
Yeah, potential staff.
yeah. But they don't have to get them a raise for the operation, but, yeah.
To be blunt, if they didn't exist, the cost is gonna be a lot more.
Correct.
So it's gonna be a burden upon the residents, too.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, and saying in a public meeting, we need to gauge, maybe that's why it's for next year too. Gauge what residents are willing to accept as a tax burden, make sure that we have proper coverage for fire, especially fire and EMS, services. There is a cost associated that we cannot absorb. Page 15, Public Works. Right after the fire discussion.
Well, the other part is
How
on
much time we got today?
27, sheet 27 is the capital.
Stay over. We'll come back to this with Holden.
By that, though.
Yeah, wait, Steve, 'cause this is the easy one. So I don't think there are many,
What's the building and grounds
Yeah.
and rent increase?
Well, we spent,
Spent 28,
we
that's-
spent over 20, so we went over our budget amount last year by just over 3,000.
we're gonna paint the front doors this spring,
We are.
finally, no,
Volunteers.
should we make it 30? Carl?
Carl,
Buildings and grounds, we budgeted 25 last year, we spent 28.1, And so
It
now,
all depends on if you're planning on doing the doors in the courtroom there and Donna's, or just the one Donna's door and the salt barn, painting the salt barn.
painting the salt,
I'm sorry, what's that?
you say painting the salt barn?
Yeah,
Is
Yeah,
this
we
the
talked
second,
about that last year.
this is the second time, this is the second time we're doing that, correct?
this would be the second time.
And the doors, you're looking at ballistic doors
So these,
or just new?
so doors for here, and then one in Donna's office.
Right now, Donna's is the only one
What?
that's,
They stick, right, Carl? What was the issue? I mean, these probably aren't the biggest, I know they couldn't open them, and if there was an emergency, like,
Couldn't go to get out. I've never seen that, seen that one.
Yeah.
They-
people do that.
they stick really good, but I mean, I told Jen I'd have Lou come over once a month, spray them up, loosen them up, and they'll be fine. Donna is the one that, her door is the problem right now.
in her actual office.
If we just do her door this year, I think she'll be all,
Sticks.
So we okay with 30 if we just did one door?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That
fine,
one,
because
that one has to be done. They can't get out there.
yeah, no, that's fine, but I think these have, if you have blue, I think a lot of it is just lack of use on the
Right.
doors.
Exactly.
Here's,
They're not rusted through, they're not damaged, and court is largely virtual, our meetings are lightly attended.
again, not an emergency, but that one, you want to do one door at a time. Not your,
Yeah,
and just,
if the judge's door is horrible.
yeah, I worry about that one. The judge has to have separation and. We have to make sure. If it's on fire here, they gotta get out.
So 30 done. Now, anything else on that particular sheet?
Is that snow removal, is that just 10,000 bump? Whatever expenses.
Well, yeah.
They go up with the roads.
Oh, with the storm we had, yeah.
Okay.
And we have 20,000 in the other trust reserve.
We already did that in the request on that. Sorry, Carl.
5,000, Carl. That's it.
Wouldn't even cover the fuel, you'd end up leaving the truck out in the middle of the road somewhere.
The battery.
So.
Yes. So the big change on this I see is the court officer. And I assume, because I was the one who shared it, even though they're virtual, the court was requesting that at least the sheriff be present for virtual meetings. And then if it is in person, we have a sheriff and a trooper present. The thought being that, unfortunately, even though it is virtual, people do know where the courts are and they know people are in the building, so.
And some people don't realize it's virtual, and they think they have to appear.
And then you're still here unprotected.
So we pay for those costs with the sheriff and say that it's gonna have.
This is not part of the contract?
It is, so I mean, we're increasing it, I say we've been fortunate the past 3 years. But, in the past, we had been covering, at least the sheriff, I think in the end of 2019, there was sheriff and trooper, so. I think it was even more than what's here now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would do 24 sessions, 4 or 5 hours. I'm just pointing it out as an increase, but I think it's very reasonable. It's 15C.
Those are all pretty steady.
Good to do, little pickup truck. Doesn't use diesel, more efficient,
It's gas.
yeah, that's efficient, right, Carl? The 250, the 250 is much more efficient to drive around than taking out one of the 550 dump trucks.
Which is microphone on Carl.
250 do what?
This is much more fuel efficient than taking out one of the 550 Mason dumps to run tools and.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're just talking about a decrease in fuel cost.
So much just like. Retirement program with them?
Should have, memorized all these before you came.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
I did.
employees now
Like an idiot for 14 years now, I print out my own version.
are required.
And so last time my printer stopped in the middle of it, like, I
So
don't
that's
know why though.
our
It's
contribution.
become like a good luck thing, like, print
I
that
gotta
out.
have it.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
May 21.
Like, 22 is the offsetting appropriation for the shared service board.
Two blank. 24. With the grant coming in.
The appropriation.
26. 26. We'll start there.
Sure.
So we have, capital improvement funds staying the same, 37.9. We have our improvement to roads coming down a little bit. This includes, chip seal and road maintenance and purchase of equipment. Is right now at 150, and that represents one mason dump. Steve, do you want to talk about equipment purchase to start with?
Yes. The arm mower, I guess, has been abolished because we don't have the money.
It's all open for discussion.
Okay. Let's discuss, because I thought it was totally off the table.
So if that's back in there, so we're at 1.52% increase, if that's back in there, we're close to 5%, I believe, which we've been trying to stay around 2%.
This is for the tax increase.
Yeah,
So we're definitely doing taxes.
yeah, it's definitely going up. Well, I don't want to say that, but right, this budget, the way it is, if we adopted it, I know we made some changes, but approximately 1.5% increase. In the past couple of years, it's been around 2.2%, I believe.
In the previous years, like not last year, but I know the previous year we didn't raise it all.
No, we, the last, since 2020, there's been
Oh,
like.
it's been that long.
That's like 2.2% increases since 2020.
So this budget now, it's what?
1.5.
Wasn't last year's increase, my understanding was the municipal portion stayed level, but the tax increase was because of the tier.
Yeah,
rate and all that.
Yeah, we kept our operating
But
budget.
now, so the operating budget now is actually going up 1.5 or one, whatever it is,
Overall, yeah.
overall right now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna gain additional from this tier. I know you said it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah, well, I'll let Tom speak on it, but I don't anticipate it impacting it beyond what's here.
Okay, so we totally get raising taxes at all, but the problem being our equipment is falling apart. It's ridiculous. And you're power washing the trucks and the rust just pouring out. Perfect example today is we have such old equipment, we can't even find a fucking starter for one of them right now. It's, you know, obsolete, so obsolete, we're having a hell of a time trying to find a starter, which is a common item. It's me and Carl talked about this today, and we gotta do something. I like the idea that you talk about the fire trucks. I'll give you credit for that one, but me and Carl talked about today, we gotta do something similar to your idea about having money put aside for the equipment. Next year, we're gonna,
So we did this and it went away in 2020. So we had a 5-year capital plan and we followed it. And we
That's what.
did it. And then in 2020, it went away. And now nobody's been maintaining or following really the equipment. So really a 5-year capital plan. And I would prefer equipment, but in that capital plan previous to 2020 was equipment and roads. So we knew where we were. The total cost of that package was about $2 million over 5 years. So we need to look at that again.
mean,
But when you said it went away, was there money, was that capital fund started before 2020, or was the money put in?
No, that was actually largely paid for with debt, and now we paid it off. And if you don't put a capital fund together and you don't have a 5-year capital plan, you're gonna go back into debt.
Right. That was what, it's foolish to use the money the way.
I feel like we're playing, I feel like we're playing whack-a-mole
Yeah,
with all of this.
so,
And I never know what I'm gonna get hit with, so I can't plan for it.
so we had, we have 4 new trucks now, plus the pickup truck.
have 4. Carl, is that true?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We
got the three big ones, the 250 and the Mason dump.
Right, okay.
So you have 3 8-tons, 1 550, and the one on the pickup truck.
And then 1 250.
Yeah, so. And then you have a 2000, so the 550 that's yours is a 2021? Or
2022.
So then you have, we have a 2018 as well?
No,
What's
Oh,
that,
wait.
6?
the international.
You have an 06, I know that, because we keep fixing it with the 6-liter that everybody likes to make fun of. And then you have, was that an 08, or is it a 6.4-liter, or I don't remember the year though.
Yeah, 6.4 to 250, or the 550. I mean,
Alright, so it's gotta be an 08, 09 with a 6.4.
we got 2 of them. The 2006 is the one that isn't giving us problems. The 2010 is giving us the problems.
That's with the clutch.
Yes,
But we just have 3 550s, correct?
right.
And I do have a question, because I know the request for this $150,000 is for another 550, so we traditionally went with the 8-tons for plowing. So why is the 550 sufficient? Is the blade, is the difference in the blade, is there a difference? Why is I just thought the Mason dump was small, so.
Well, the plan was, like I told Jen, was gonna trade that 2010 in or a gov deal with. I don't know which we can get more for. So with the plow, everything on it, and that would be for the hills line for Iron Bridge and Ludlow.
Was it the 2010 or the 2006? I thought you said the 2006.
No, 2010. That's the one that's giving us all the problems.
Okay.
That's when you can't find the starter on, Steve?
No.
No, starters on the big truck.
Okay.
That's
How
on the
many
9.
How many of the old Dell 9000s do we have left?
We have 3.
They were the old county trucks, yeah, they're big trucks.
Yeah, we have a 95, a 96, and a 98, I believe.
That seems to be the problem with what used equipment. Now it's out of what it's supposed to be doing, and we're paying for it now.
Yeah, we bought them from the county.
Right, they were used trucks because we bought possibly someone else's headaches. So you know, we don't wanna give in, well, I'm gonna say give in, because I'm fighting for the equipment to keep our roads.
So,
The names we got is great roads, everybody always comments on how great our road system is, but we need the equipment to keep that going.
so when you go out and plow, what's out there? 5 8-ton trucks and 1 mason dump typically? That's what it used to be.
2 mason dumps, I believe, right?
Now there's 2 mason dumps. I don't think we didn't used to send 2 mason dumps out.
Well, can you layman terms for me and probably for any of the residents that watch this, like he was saying, get back into trying to set up a capital funds account to start taking care of this. How does that affect taxes for residents? How does that affect our budget? And I'm worried this part too. Steve, I don't know if you know. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have, because for whatever reason, we should be having something put in place to replace this equipment. How does having that set up, what does that mean?
So there's two components to it. Is one, the life cycle of all the equipment. So when we had this, and that's why I'm not putting, Carl, Steve, I'm not putting you on the spot, but maybe next meeting we can have some of these, maybe some sort of chart. But, you have all the trucks, that's why I'm asking questions tonight. You have the loader, and you have the backhoe. Now, Carl, I know you run things differently than Steve. When Steve was there, I think you relied a lot on that backhoe, kind of got driven around like it was a car. And so, the loader had a 10-year lifespan, the backhoe had an 8-year lifespan. And then these trucks had a 10-year lifespan. You need to know the lifespan of what we have. And then we need to know what we need to put into paying for this. So that past 5-year plan had all of the replacements. And then also the potential trade-in value, and that's what started this. When I came on the committee, I came on in 2011. And in 2009, I was going through our debt, we had $1 million in debt in 2009, when typically we took on about $300,000 to $400,000 in debt every year. Now we're trying to avoid debt altogether, but that $1 million was because we bought a lot of equipment in 2009. And then whatever we had, like the computers, or just about, was junk and had no trading value. So when we bought this last loader, it was still worth $60,000 on trade. The net cost of the $200,000 machine was like $98,000. So that's part of it, is that schedule of the values, so that we're trading something in. There's also, and Lou can help with this, there's also a certain point, like Steve was pointing out, if you have a 95 and a 96, although they're Fords, so I find it hard to believe that they need any work. But you have a 95 and a 96 truck that's out plowing, what's the cost to maintain that? So if you're putting $20,000 into these trucks,
Right.
but Steve and I are flipping roles now, so I'm happy to see Steve. Years ago, I was fighting because I was in the garage and we were literally torching the floor out of, I still have the pictures, we welded in a whole new floor in one of these L9000s 5 years ago to keep it. And I'm like, we're a municipality, we rely on these roads to make sure that ambulances, you rely on these trucks to make sure the roads are clear for ambulances, and we're welding a floor into it. So what's the cost of that maintenance at a certain point then too, for purchasing equipment? But again, we were trying to avoid that, so we can keep taxes flat. If we don't have a capital fund, which we don't have now, and we get in a position where we need a truck, we take a loan, and we can keep taxes flat. But we can, but, yeah, and then interest rates.
And you're gonna have to buy a truck.
Right.
And then you're gonna have to buy a year or 2 or 3 later, another truck, and then a year or 2.
But what I'm saying though, so
Another.
And the challenge that now too, I would say, is if you're looking at, and the reality is, I know they're horrible, because they're 30 years old. But in 95, 96, 98, those old Ford trucks were easy 20-year lifespan trucks, probably 25 years. We just bought 3 8-ton trucks, and we're lucky if they're 10-year trucks at this point.
Well, my question is, from the days when I didn't know how to drive a truck. When you did other jobs, like when you're plowing, you're putting a lot more wear and tear, not on the trucks that you're already now plowing, the bigger the truck. It was better, the smaller trucks really get torn up, right, when you're using them for plowing, so sometimes it's worth it to spend more money on a big truck, because you get a 20-year life out of it, and the maintenance is actually less than what you gotta do, like if you're trying to plow with a mason truck. I mean, you're gonna tear that up a lot faster than its normal life cycle. So, there's a lot that goes into it, I'm not an expert on it, but I do understand So we life cycle.
If you wanted to create a capital plan, I'm just asking, I'm still learning this. Is it something like, okay, we're gonna create a capital plan based upon the inventory, the life expectancy?
Yeah.
And we're gonna calculate, I'll say, $500,000 a year, not about that.
No, yeah.
Now we take $500,000 a year and put it every year into the budget, is that increasing our budget?
We figure out what trucks we have. And then.
Right,
That's
I-
what the life cycle is.
I understand that.
When you buy it, you figure out, if this truck costs $150,000 to replace, and it's gonna last 10 years. And what am I gonna get for it in 10 years? I'll get $50,000, so I need $100,000. So I gotta figure out over 10 years, how much money do I have to put away? So that I don't have to buy it, but you gotta do it for each truck, so you know each year, how much we have to put away for all 5 trucks.
So if,
And that's our capital fund, so
if
that
we
we're
were to
not,
start looking at this
Right.
information now,
and that's why we surplus things that we have.
this
Instead of just paying off debt, and then all of a sudden, in 5 years, you're gonna have
And if we
a
said-
huge amount of debt. Because
No, what I'm saying is, what I'm asking though is, if we were to get all this information and start redoing this all over again, remember that we got rid of it, and we start budgeting that money, whether we can start this year or next year, I don't know.
This year.
This, as soon as.
Can we do this?
As soon as we get
I
the budget, I don't know, I think I'm saying.
We can't spend it this year. But
The
what,
sooner the better we start.
Exactly, I agree, but that's it.
so what I would suggest, it's whatever buckets you're putting it in, so surplus and surplus, so. If we're using $440,000 of our surplus, so we regenerated $600,000. We should take 150 of that, we wanna use the whole surplus, the problem is it's gonna keep our surplus flat, so we have $1 million, we have 900 some thousand dollars in surplus. 1.4, so 1.4, it's gonna stay at 1.4. We were trying to grow back because like 60% of your budget is the recommended surplus.
Right.
We're at 40% right now, which is good, when we took over, we were 17%.
Yeah,
So we were able to rebuild surplus from 17% to 40%. But what I'm suggesting is still kind of surplus, if we don't spend it, we put the 150,000 into a capital fund. And the next year we put $150,000 into it, and you keep adding to it.
I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think taking some of that money from surplus, and putting it into the capital, still the different buckets, still the same money, but sure, it's not gonna save us a lot of money if we have to replace a truck at $150,000 and float a bond or take a loan or whatever else and pay whatever interest rates. Steve?
Okay, well, I'm gonna say
Oh,
things
yeah.
totally different because I don't understand money, so what I was gonna do in layman's term. We asked for a arm. 120, 130, Carl? Yeah, 130, I remember.
Very that much.
We're not gonna ask, that's the price we got, and that's, what I believe, is trading in and getting 10 grand for the old one. So Carl, please correct me, but I'm trying to remember everything from today,
I think it was 120 after trade, that's what I saw.
whatever the numbers are, but. We were thinking of different things we could ask for that is needed. So we figured out maybe you're not gonna go for 90,000, you're not gonna go for 80,000, so. In layman's term, what we were thinking about is take 50 grand, put it in an envelope, this is my layman's term. Put it in an envelope. For $50,000 and just earmark that just for the equipment we need to buy next year, because we're gonna get fucked. I'm sorry for my language, but you're gonna get fucked next year, because we need equipment yesterday. I mean, the starter's gonna tell you everything. Can't find a freaking starter for a common Ford truck. You know, that's how antiquated this shit is, but just to save us getting really screwed next year, I'm suggesting we take 50 grand, just put it in an envelope, or however you wanna do it, like in your terms. Put it aside, it's gonna be,
On the mattress over DPW, with the envelope under the
whatever
mattress.
you gotta do, man, your terms, but.
So then, is that's what he's saying there?
Exactly what he's saying.
That's the same thing as doing the capital.
You're doing capital, which is not much money, just earmark just for our equipment next year.
Basically, I offered 150 instead of 50.
But that's everything, that's capital for the whole town, right?
No, because you're marked that specifically.
I want this just for our equipment.
But they're not, yeah, but they're not exclusive, it's not a binary. We have some equipment that we have to replace now.
That's where a spreadsheet is gonna be perfect,
But
so we have a volunteer to do it with all.
But we have equipment that we gotta do, so we gotta figure out a way to do that. Yeah, but we also have equipment that we don't have to replace for 10 years. So we gotta figure out, how do we get the equipment that we need now, for Carl and everybody to do what having done? And we're saving money by not preparing it every day. But while also, we've got a new truck let's start with the new truck at least and say, we don't have to replace that for 12 years, let's have a capital fund for that. So that when we get there 12 years, we gotta replace it, we're not doing like we are now on the one truck, we gotta replace it today with not enough money.
What about the money we need next year for a new truck?
Well, we gotta do it for all of them, that's why we need an inventory of all trucks, what their life expectancies are, how much the replacement cost is gonna be, and figure out how are we gonna do that. Right now, we're working with one. You know, we're not working with one, but we're not working with that. we gotta have all the trucks. We gotta figure out from people who are gonna tell us, when's that truck gonna be out of service? When's its life cycle end? And how much is it gonna cost to replace it? And then we back into how much money we need to get there. But we're gonna have, the ones that are gonna have to be replaced soon, is gonna cost us a lot more money than the ones that don't have to
But
replace.
can you sit there and, can we sit there for now, say, let's take 100,000, put it into the capital budget fund for this year, all right, out of the surplus to the capital fund. Are you mandated now to do 100,000, or can we say, once we get those numbers down, people are need more?
You're right, but we can't talk generalities, we need specifics. We need we need the trucks, we need the equipment, it's not just the trucks, I'm assuming we have.
Other than one.
Well, say they get us a stuff, so they can get that stuff together.
All that stuff, I see them on all the time. We need to know all that stuff, and how much is it gonna, what's its life cycle, how much is it gonna cost? And then we gotta figure out, all right, how we're gonna replace it, something next year, and how we're gonna replace something in 2 years, and how we're gonna replace something 5 years, 10 years down the road for every piece of equipment that we have.
Right, so while we have
Keep
to
doing
do
that. That's what we almost,
while we're working that information, that we can't just say, hey, let's take 100,000 now.
well, because we don't know how much to take. You know, just don't take a number.
Oh, you
wanna
can't
take
just say
a what?
100,000, like he was
You
saying
can take
50,000, we can't just take 100,000.
You can take any number you want, you don't just take a number we need.
You could take it
Don't
on this
take
one, but I just said, like, I wanna give DPW everything they want, what we're doing with other people's wants, so we gotta
Right.
figure out.
Right.
So Carl,
You
then,
do what you're doing.
Carl, they
You just need to get the right, it might be 90,000 instead of 100,000, might be some different number, let's figure that out. I agree with everything you're saying.
Now, and I'm sorry, Paul, I'm real fast. If we were to say he gets the information and we start calculating those numbers.
Yeah.
Say 1 year we have extra cash flow, another storm comes in, we get money from FEMA or whatever else, can we that year put extra money into it, or we locked that number each year?
No,
No.
no,
So we can throw extra money, yeah.
that's our whole piggyback.
You can-
That only tried, yeah, the rule of 72, compounding interest.
Correct.
After the first 10 years, money doubles every year. It's an amazing thing if we do it right. We almost did it, but we had it right until we.
we had all the money, we had everything set, till the money didn't mind.
Oh.
And so now we're gonna start again, we rebuild.
That's what we're gonna do.
We rebuilt the surplus, we did it once, we'll do it again. I just have a question, but Carl, the arm mower that we have. I know we bought that used from, whoever it was, Elizabeth Linden, whatever it was. What, how many years ago, do you know, was that 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
Probably about 8, but that's not the one. We wanted to get rid of the John Deere one, the 5420.
It's a side mower?
It's a sidearm mower.
Yeah, it's not the arm one.
No, not the arm one, the sidearm one.
Okay, and how old is that machine?
That is 22, I believe.
2022?
So again, I mean, this is perfect.
No.
So,
No, it's 22 years old.
not approving anything tonight, but I'm less opposed, because when you say arm mower, we've just bought that other arm mower 8 years ago, and now you're asking $120,000, I said no right away. But now I know it's a different machine, so that's why we need to have some sort of schedule.
Right.
And I'd also like to ask, because I know we were, complaining about buying the trucks used from the county, but we were pretty proficient in trying to find used equipment first. We would go in and buy new last, but like that arm mower, we bought from, like I said, I think it was Elizabeth, because they realized that they didn't have any use for it in an urban area, and it was a $120,000 machine we bought for $60,000. So, and I've had it for 8 years. So these are the things, rather than coming in and saying, I want $120,000, we need a schedule, and then what we would do in the past is no more than, so we say, yes, we know that the new machine's 120, and we did this with a dump truck, because I literally remember going out and looking at a dump truck on the side of the road for Bethlehem Township, explaining to the guy how a town works, And the next day, a private contractor came and bought it out from under us because they weren't willing for us to come to a meeting and approve the funds to get them paid. So we put in for the no more than, and then if we can find a better deal, we'll find a better deal.
Yeah, doesn't require us to have a schedule of all work vehicles and have. So we already have the truck, just need that we have the dates in the truck, we just need a license.
Yeah, we do provide them
Yeah,
something.
so, you know, we start there, so that we know the equipment we have, and then we'll have to ask you guys, what's, you know, what's its end date? And we'll also have to estimate what's it gonna cost to replace it, and then we can try to figure out a schedule, how much we're gonna need each year.
So my request to you as roads commissioner, and I'll help if you want, but if you or Carl, Jeff, you figure out all the equipment.
Right, so I was gonna volunteer my partner here. Carl, you into this shit? I'm gonna volunteer us. Yes or no?
He said yes.
I already,
Can he get some
I
kind of
have-
compensation that he's working from his home?
Still in this bill?
I have all the equipment on the computer.
Can't work from home, this guy's still.
So, but I'm gonna volunteer with his help and we'll put together, I don't know, what you call it a spreadsheet or whatever the hell you call it, I'm not a computer. But we're gonna make a list of all the equipment we have.
I want an Excel spreadsheet with pivot tables for this meeting.
What the fuck is that? I know the word spreadsheet from the girls, so.
I just
But-
go to Excel.
I'll put together a list. Carl's help, he can help you with the equipment, and we'll get a list together saying what we own, how bad it is, and what maintenance it needs, how the life cycle, like you're saying.
So, and then we'll look at starting with the capital fund.
But
Then
that
I would
was
just go into the capital improvement fund that we already have, we would just add more money to it.
But that,
What's the balance, what is our current balance in the capital improvement fund? And we're adding 37.9 this year.
But,
215,000.
but that capital improvement fund isn't for,
Yes, it is,
Is that with the 30?
yes.
Not with this
Not
year.
with this.
not with the,
No.
So we have a capital improvement fund.
but can everybody put their hand in it? I'm looking for something just for equipment for township.
It's for equipment, anything with a 20, we're 5 years, it's a 5-year lifespan. So that's equipment and roads,
with the DPW.
for the DPW.
Carl, you agree to that or what?
You already got 200,000 in it, Carl.
You don't want it, well, it's on.
Yes,
Yes, I agree with it.
fighting for you. You okay with that?
Yes.
I mean, if you guys need help with the spreadsheet stuff, I can help you with some of that too.
See, I did get a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You didn't know how to do the macro.
you're gonna help me with that, Carl?
Yeah, well-
Volunteer.
I have it on the computer already.
What?
One person at a time for this.
I have it on the computer.
Okay.
He has a lot of everything.
Okay.
So come up with a schedule for the life cycle, all the equipment that we have.
Right,
We have a capital improvement fund, we just haven't been funding it to the level that we should because we're building surplus, but we have $215,000 in it. We're adding another 37.9 this year. So let's say I said table the DPW discussion for the mason dump, and I want more of it. Carl, I know you're not working, but maybe somehow Steve can get information about why the mason dump is the choice. I get you replaced in 2010, which I didn't know, so I'm on the fence with that, but I still want to make sure that we have the equipment because like Mr. Getty pointed out, you know, I've seen a couple other towns, I've even seen a county next to us start buying mason dumps because they were cheaper and they, in the long run, paid a much higher price because they weren't big enough to do the roads. So I wanted a reasoning for the mason dump. I get the side arm mowers, so to figure that out. And we have the capital improvement fund, so the discussion will be how much money goes into the capital improvement fund, and we know it's gonna be more than 37.
I'm going to do all of that and increase the surplus.
and that's gonna hold the taxes at what you said? Like, I don't wanna have the taxes raised because we're buying more equipment, even though we need the equipment, but trying to hold taxes.
I
like
think
you
what it
said, on the
does is,
fence, whatever. So
what it does, I believe, is,
are we gonna keep the taxes the same?
Probably the same, this year's tax increase was scheduled to be less than last year's tax increase.
Right.
We can keep the tax increase the same as last year.
if we add a little more into the budget, into the, well, no,
Well, no, if we're comfortable, it's the surplus balance, so if we're comfortable leaving the surplus where it is, which is about 40% of the budget, recommended to be at 60, but if we leave it the surplus, and we use all the money that regenerates for that surplus, we can keep the tax at about the 1.5% that we're starting tonight.
And that would allow us to put how much into the capital
About 150,000-ish.
So let me ask you this, if we raise the tax increase to 2 from 1.5,
fund.
keeping everything else the same, and we use that half for surplus to get it back to 60%, while we're also initiating capital, how much would that be?
Capital,
I expect you to know the answer.
So
If we knew that.
I really don't wanna go above 1.5, I mean,
yeah.
because the county raised a lot this year, from what I understand.
What
County tax went up a lot.
the county did, they didn't change the tax rate. They're doing reassessments.
Right.
And they kept where do we do the
I was
reassessment?
gonna say, and that's the other thing that we have to be.
Yeah, but my intention for the reassessment, again, this is outside, but is to make sure that we keep the taxes as flat as possible. What the county did was they kept their tax rate flat and did the reassessment. And so it's a huge increase, but at the base of it, you can go and say, we didn't raise taxes. But it was the assessment.
The assessment.
So, yeah, and Union Township did the same last year.
My point is that if we knew that difference,
It's a,
we would be able to say your taxes are gonna go up by
it's a penny per, it's $50,000 and 1 penny per hundred,
So
or 1%.
we don't have to do it, but we should know what it means.
For every $50,000 is a penny per $100 of
Right.
assessment.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
you're, so 1.52% is approximately, what, $5 and it's like $60 a year.
And here's why, if we had to explain to taxpayers, I'm gonna raise your taxes $10 this year, I'm making it. Oh, nobody likes that. Okay, if we don't do it, in 2 years, we gotta buy a $250,000 truck, and your taxes are gonna go up by $250. Which one would you rather have?
So
Now, a lot of
Very
people.
simple for me to understand.
And I don't know the answer, I'm making up the numbers, but if the numbers make sense,
what we do, I ask
we have to do
Jen
the right thing.
every year.
And I'm not, and I believe me, I don't want to pay anything.
You and Steve have been
Or
with me all
anything.
through this. Every year I ask Jen, how much on the average home assessment, how much does that cost? So this year, it's like, right to 1.52%, it was about $60 for the year for municipal tax increase. So if you made it 2%, it's
Sorry,
like, well,
I'm making it-
probably $80 a year taxes, and but the county raised as well. We always try to be considerate. The county raised, the schools raised, so it's probably gonna be like $120 to $130 for, actually probably more than that, because they were only a small percentage. Probably about $180 on the average home increase, but we're the smallest percentage of that increase, so.
But we got equipment that needs to be replaced,
All right, so
and it's expensive.
I think we're all on the same page, he's being on board. They're gonna work on getting the information.
Yeah.
And we already have a $200,000 in the capital fund right now, you said.
Yeah.
We're putting an additional 30, how much in there? 37 in there right now. If we wanted to take, say, another 25,000 to make it 50 or whatever, 14,000. After we get the paperwork, we can do that if we want, and that money will be sitting there, and then from here on forward, we can start saying.
So after this, I'm gonna say Jen's gonna do all the work, but I'll work with Jen. And maybe we come up with like 3 different levels, and then we know what it is per the average house. So if we fund the capital at 25,000 or 50, it's $80 a year. If we do 150, it's $100 a year. We'll come up with some options for the next meeting, but we're gonna need some of this other information.
I've known, I guess in the past, sometimes that, sometimes be a valid question, is that something that would be feasible, reasonable, something?
The cost of that,
Yeah.
50, yeah, for what we're.
I'm saying, if we were to present it to the town, say, hey, this is, if you guys want to sort of, it'll be worth. Well, like, if we want to present to the town and say, hey, look, we're setting up a capital plan to start replacing our equipment. Unfortunately, because with everything, there could be a tax increase. Would you vote yes or no, and get to a vote?
This way the people would know what they're getting.
Exactly, it's one of those ballot questions you see.
Yeah, we don't have to abide by their opinion, but at least people would know.
Yes.
What do you do if they vote? That's what I'm saying.
I just one other question, I don't want to keep dragging this on. How do we know how much more to keep spending and dumping into these trucks? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
It's kind of what Mr. Kenny's saying, so I don't know, say the 95 Ford truck is costing you 10,000 a year to maintain. Would even if we buy the truck outright, you know what the lifespan of the truck is, does it cost you $10,000 a year to have a new truck?
Yeah. Okay,
And that's why we need to know the schedule,
right,
because there's still maintenance associated with the new truck, but it should be general.
right, but when is enough is enough, that's what I'm asking, you know, I mean,
When that cost of the old truck exceeds the cost of owning a new truck.
And the older the truck gets, then obviously the maintenance cost goes up every year
right, and
by a factor.
like I said, the parts are getting harder and harder to find, so we gotta do something.
You
Sooner
need
the
to-
better, right?
I can have to start to rebuild it,
I can do, I know the guy that owns the Middlesex Armature on St. George Avenue.
they're out to take it.
Yeah, I know him very personally.
No, I grew up with them.
Oh, okay, you know him a little maybe more than me.
But so we can take a ride together.
I don't know how that far goes.
I tried. 14 years, I've tried.
That's my first time.
All right.
So, all right, thank you. Carl, you good with that shit?
We
Nodding his head, yes.
Yeah, we have a 7:30.
Yeah.
So I think the last question, Joe, I think the last question for now is the debt payment. So on page 27, last year we paid 161,634. This year it's scheduled to be 120. This is the same thing as talking about the capital improvement fund. Do we want to sacrifice surplus to pay down the remainder of the debt a little bit quicker? Knowing that regardless, it has to all be paid off by 2027.
What is
What
the
are we paying
interest?
on the debt?
Okay.
What's our rate? What's we paying on the debt?
What's the interest of the debt?
I don't know what the rate is off the top of my head, but we're paying 18,233 in interest.
Because
I
the
think
year,
4% this year.
how much, what
I
is
think
it,
it's
1%?
like 4.
Yeah, because and if we, you know, if we kind of take a bond now, it's infestation of, what's the rate, what's the bond, what's the?
It just depends
Well,
on,
that's my worry is you pay off debt at 4%, and then we gotta take a debt 2 years from now, and we're paying 8%.
Right.
You know, that doesn't.
That's what I said all along back when we were 1%.
Right, well.
That's why I would rather have
Depending on what
our,
happens in November.
I would have rather had our money right now than, so.
So I'm not ready to do that right now, because I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm okay with this as long as it keeps us.
Yeah, it keeps us on track. It's gonna have to be more than 120 as we get closer to.
right, the next.
Yeah,
Sure, we'll go back.
we kind of finagled with this, I know I had some conversations, because of the equipment.
It has to be paid off by
16.
27.
Right.
It has to, because it's only 10 years. They have to be paid off within 10 years.
My personal opinion is just get rid of the debt, man. Always hate the debt. So that's just my opinion. We can discuss it next time, but I don't want no more bonds, man.
What's the balance in the debt again? Sorry.
435, 3.0.
Is there interest being on surplus?
What do we make, 3%? The interest that we make on our surplus account,
Oh, yeah, like, it's great.
3%.
Yeah, it's better, the other, you're making more money than you're
You
paying.
put it in fixed income?
The interest is, yeah, on sheet, 4, the very first. Interest on investment and deposits. I could actually bump that up a little bit.
We
It
consider it.
can't go more than what we realized in the prior year. So
I think I had said something like 140.
Just, yeah.
140. Or from the 120, never mind.
Very first.
oh, yes, yes, we do.
All right, 7:30.
We're spending it in now. Interest is at flat. That's the thing with the surplus that I pointed out, back in the $3 million in surplus. We were earning at 1.4% our contract, and our bonds were at 1.1, 1.2, we were actually making money. But if you look at this, even in today's environment, we were fortunate enough, we went out to bid, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do it this year, for banking, and our interest rate wasn't, even at 3% last year. And we still had $23,000 in interest, and the interest we're paying is $18,000, so we're interest neutral.
Well,
Yeah,
we're saving money, but
yeah, we're making money, but,
that's why paying off the debt and losing and making money.
so Steve, Steve, I know you don't like the debt, and there's no voodoo to it, but there's a balance to having the surplus at a certain interest rate.
That was always your big thing,
Yeah.
I hate that.
So we're actually, we're net positive on the interest rate, on interest by $5,000.
Oh,
Yeah, we're making money. Having a surplus that we're not paying.
yeah, I don't want another bond, man, because look where it got us, you know, I'm not blaming anyway, but we were what, 100,000 or more than that in debt?
No, we were over $1 million. But
Yeah.
But we were, even then,
We wouldn't say that word, but.
yeah, but even then, even though then we were making money for interest, we had 3.1 million in savings for the
I
guarantee.
think we're on a good track now, paying it off. Yeah, we gotta get I understand what you're saying, you did the math.
You got a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, favor?
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned.
So, the next, I said, yeah.